Hello, my name is Sharjil Khwaja, and in today's presentation, we will be discussing the topic of power distance, which is another one of the six dimensions of Hofstede's cultural dimension theory. So, to understand power distance in the context of corporate world, the simplest way to understand it is as a measure of how peers and people in authority share responsibilities. High power distance culture being the one where there's clear sense of authority in place, while low power distance culture is the one where there's more of a shared responsibility and power dynamic across the board. Now that we understand power distance at a high level, let's talk about its advantages and disadvantages in the corporate setting. So, before we discuss this, there's no right or wrong side to this dimension. What matters is that you end up in a place where the culture is more suitable to your own personal traits. So on the high end, we see a pro like low decision making pressure, since that's considered the job of a person who has authority. So you're not held accountable or responsible for the results since the decision did not come from you. For cons, we see that unethical behavior in such cultural companies could be high due to the sense of authority and others not speaking up about it due to fear of losing job. On the low side is the opposite. In this type of culture, you find low unethical behavior taking place, and while on the con side, we see that when there are multiple decision makers, it can sometimes lead to conflicts among peers and also cause disorganization to occur at a workplace. So, since we have been discussing the topic of expatriates this week, let's try to connect the topic of power distance dimension, expatriates, and IHRM together. So, for example, from IHRM staffing and training perspective, we first know that US scores low on power distance index and India scores high on power distance index. And we know this thanks to Hofstede's global research study. Now imagine that a person who works in global organization but within US and that person is assigned a task that requires him or her to go to India to perform an assignment. We can already sense that there could be some cultural fitting problems based on just a few factors that we discussed in the previous slide. And therefore, it's important that IHRM today leverages these different cultural understanding to better prepare the expatriates around the world in order to reduce the gap in cultural understanding so that expatriates are better able to fit in the new environment and perform their assignments successfully. Finally, I hope you learned something new from this presentation today, and thank you for watching.